So hey there everybody, and as always, welcome to the channel. Thanks for stopping by. My name is Rich Charpentier, I'm the channel host, and 9 times out of 10 we're going to be talking about drones, drone mapping, drone construction, progress reports, things like that. Also, we do a lot about imaging. Now today's video is going to be a little long, so we do have chapters down below because we're going to be walking you through a project that we started working on last month. This is our second flight at the location. And this is a new sports complex in the greater Prescott area. It's called the Wheelhouse Sports Complex. That's the building that you see off in the distance here. And they're also doing some new sports fields, BMX track, and a couple other amenities. So this is going to be really interesting. And this is located in the Prescott Valley area at the fairgrounds. So we also do have a horse track over here on the right-hand side. We're not documenting that. We're actually just documenting the Wheelhouse Sports Complex. You can also see that there's a really nice RV park out there as well. So the area that we're covering, you can see the BMX track was just getting installed and roughed out. They're going to have that finished in the very near future. And in this video that you're seeing, this is a time lapse. So we did May 2022 fly through, and then we did another one just today here in June of 2022. And you'll see this fade from the May into the June so that you can see that BMX track. So a lot of things went into this. This is similar to one of our typical drone mapping and construction progression reports. But this one, instead of having buildings going up and things, the building's already up, and it's the sports fields that are of most interest to the clients. They want to show the progression of the football field and of the BMX course, and there's also going to be one additional field here as well. So when we first got contacted about this, we did the normal thing, which is I run out to the county tax parcel maps pages, the Yavapai County parcel maps, take a look at the location, see where we're going to be working. And let me minimize this here. And so I'm also going to minimize our WebODM as well. We're going through this whole process here today. So first thing I'm doing, I'm grabbing my iPhone, which has some of my flight planning on it. And we're going to share that screen with you here in just a moment. So waiting for that to pull up. And there we go, the Mac Studio. So you should be seeing our mirrored images right off of my iPhone. There we go. So in order to get this done, we had actually pre-planned a couple of flights, one for a video flight utilizing Litchi, and then one using Map Pilot Pro to do a two-dimensional orthomosaic model. So first, let's take a look at the Litchi map here. So I'm just going to pull this right on up. And I did the initial planning from the home office with Litchi's Mission Hub website to actually get what we wanted here. Let me minimize that area here so now you can take a look at this. So we set up a flight path first and foremost for doing our video. I always like to do things in a particular progression. So we started out with the video flight today, and then we moved on to the two-dimensional orthomosaic model where we use Map Pilot. So as you can see, I don't have a lot of waypoints on this at all. We set this to, I believe, about 7 miles an hour. The distance is 3,310 feet. Time was 7 minutes according to Litchi here. So we do get a lot of great information when we're doing our pre-planning with Litchi. Gives us an idea of our flight time, what we're going to be using in the battery. Now, what we did is we actually launched the drone, had the drone follow this flight path, and at the center you can see the 70-foot marker is our central point where we're targeting. So we've got a point of interest, and as we're flying around the field areas, the drone is adjusting, the gimbal's adjusting, so that we're always shooting at the same location, which is between the sports field and the BMX field. So literally hooked this up to the drone controller on the Mavic 2 Pro and executed this mission with video on. And so you saw a little of that video beforehand. And let's go ahead and close this one out. And now let's pop up Map Pilot Pro. So in our mission plans, our second mission that we have saved in here. As you can see, I did a very simple mission. It's not like we're doing a 3D model here, so we didn't need to use a lot of images. On the left-hand side of this, I'm going to show you. So my flight distance was 2.11 miles, and the path speed was set to 15.7 miles per hour. And this particular property, as you can see here in the upper left corner, about 13.5 acres. There's a lot more going on in here. And when the clients first got in touch, I thought they wanted the whole area flown for a whole two-dimensional map. And it was nice to find out that they did not need the whole area, just the area that they're in control of with the sports complex. So that's the sports complex building here on the north. And then going into the south, this is where the sports field and BMX track are going to be. So I preset this flight up actually at the home office. Went and verified everything in person back in May to make sure that we were getting the right flight path done, and we were. So in looking at this right away, I just want to reiterate, first flight was a video flight with Litchi flying around a point of interest. And we did the same exact flight in May as we did today here in June. So it makes it nice and easy to show the transitions and changes month to month in a progression report style in video. We also can show the changes month to month with that two-dimensional orthomosaic model that we made here with MapPilot Pro. So let me just close this one up here. We'll get out of the drone screen and we'll go ahead and turn that screen mirroring off. So as I mentioned, let me close this up here. And as I just mentioned, let's take a look back at this really quickly. So same flight path was used. And I just want you to see, so this is the May flight path and the June flight path followed the same exact flight. And as you can see, it changed from that empty part of the field here to the initial roughed out BMX track. So this is going to be a really interesting one to follow the progress on. In addition to doing all of this stuff outside with them, we're also going to be doing an inside 360 virtual tour to take people through an inline hockey rink, actually a couple of inline hockey rinks. They've got a boxing gym in there, they've got a regular gym, and they're also adding a couple of other things. So when it's all said and done, this is going to be a really amazing sports complex in the area. All right, let's go ahead and close the QuickTime player. So after we return from the location, I do what I always do, which is offload everything, because I always do like to see what we got after we were in the field. So I am just going down, and here we are. So I have 3 folders from today's flight. I have my ortho images. Those ortho images were generated with MapPilot Pro, and they're going to be used to develop the two-dimensional orthomosaic model. We then had a sports complex set of stills, so we do still images as well to showcase and highlight certain things at the location. And then finally, we had the sports complex video that followed that initial flight path. So there's the initial flight path that we had set up, and I had the drone automatically start doing its flight and picking everything up here. And we have a similar flight for May as well. So this is following around with that Litchi flight path that I just showed you. Now we're doing this one pretty quick because doing a full drone construction mapping and drone construction progression reporting does take a little time in the field, does take a little more time in the initial setup. So that's why I wanted to move through that quickly. We do have over at classes.azdrone.net, we do have a couple of series of doing a full progression report setup for clients for other construction sites as well. So if you want the slowed down version where we show you the setups, how we set our waypoints, and how we set up in MapPilot, Ground Station Pro, or Drone Harmony, you might want to go check over at classes.azdrone.net. All right, so one of the first things that I look at once I offload everything, I'm always very interested in the ortho images and our ortho models. So as we can see here, DJI number 003 through to number 135. So we had 133 images that went into this flight, today's flight. Now, last month in May, we did a similar flight. And for May, let's go back here and let's see here. So May ortho images. And once again, the first image was a throwaway image. It always takes one extra. So in highlighting May's flight, we also had 133 images. So both of these models match up very nicely. And what I did next, once I got everything offloaded and organized into my clients folder, was I opened up WebODM. So we're using the Mac Studio M1 right now, which has helped speed things along nicely on WebODM and on Agisoft's Metashape as well. And as you can see here, so let's just zoom on in really quick. We have the Sports Complex in June 2022, and we have the Sports Complex in May of 2022 as well. So I ran these tasks today because I wanted to rerun them back to back. So I did the May one first under one task here in WebODM. It flew for me. Let's take a look right here. 133 images. It was 11 minutes and 49 seconds to have it complete. And we did this on a standard output with WebODM. So we could have done it on a higher end output as well, and that would have given us more depth in the images. But let me tell you, when you zoom into these orthomosaic models, very, very good detail. I was flying this at 235 feet above ground level as well, just to let you know. And we were keeping our eyes to the sky because we were just a little distance from KPRC, our local airport here in Prescott. We were flying in Class G airspace, but we were close to the edge of controlled airspace. So we were watching out for the helicopters from Guidance Helicopter and for the different training flights, student flights from Embry-Riddle or North Air Aviation as well. Now, I ran this one this morning here just to check it out, and we ran this at 11:07 a.m. Of course, we can go into the view map here. We're going to show you a little more afterward, but I'm going to go ahead and close out the Google map just to show the overall area here. And as we zoom in, we can see this resolving. We can zoom in even further. So a lot of detail out of this flight. And as we can see in the old flight, no BMX field or BMX circle in here at the moment. I'm going to go back to the dashboard in WebODM. So WebODM is one of the tools that I use for 2D and 3D modeling. We also use Agisoft Metashape, and we have uploaded to other services as well. If you're new to WebODM, it is an open source drone mapping application, and it's basically free. You can get the free version, but you got to do a little compiling on Windows, Mac, or on Linux. But you can also do their pay for downloader, which is a really reasonable price. I think $57 one-time fee, and then you too can process your drone images. And also, we do have a class, classes.azdrone.net, and we do have a walkthrough for setting up and using WebODM for the first time. So if you're new to WebODM, you're looking for a low-cost solution, you might want to try this out. All right, let's take a look at the June of 2022 as well. We're going to open that one up. And once again, we ran this one, and this one was 10 minutes and 11 seconds. So just a little bit different than the first one, even though we had the same number of images. That's kind of interesting because the other one was, what, 11 minutes and some change? Let's see, 11:49 versus 10:11. As I said, though, both of these were run on the basic settings, and nothing else was changed with these. So if I go into here and do a view map as well, we can go ahead and turn off that Google map around there. And sure enough, we've got the new version from June, which we just did today. And you can see this BMX track in here. It's loading in. I've also got some lines loading in here as well. But so we can start zooming into this further and further to get the details out of that BMX track and where the football field's going to be going as well. And finally, the main building called Wheelhouse. So this is the Wheelhouse Sports Complex. I'm going to go back to my dashboard here. We're going to go back down to the tasks. We're going to talk about one of the next things that I did. So in order to get a finalized orthomosaic that I can hand off to the clients, that they can take a look at and, see what changes have gone on in a certain period of time, in this case, about a month, we can also download our assets from WebODM. So the first item is an ortho photo. So we can download that ortho photo that we generated today and that we generated last month as well. We can put them together in Photoshop, which is what we're going to take a look at in just a couple of minutes. You can also output a surface model. We had the point cloud textured model. So it did generate a 3D model from this, but we weren't after a 3D model because we're only showcasing those sports fields right now. You can also check out our camera parameters, the camera shots. We have a quality report, and we can also offload all assets. So what I did for the June flight was offloaded just the Orthomosaic, and for the May flight, I also offloaded just the Orthomosaic. Let's go ahead and minimize WebODM now for the next step. So I'm sliding these two images over here for you, and these are from June of 2020 and from May of 2022, excuse me, 2022 for both of them. So there are our two offloads, and what I'm going to do with this, because we do want to do a before and after. That's one of the things that I normally do on my deliverable web pages, on the custom web pages that I build for my clients. For those clients, we like to give them a before and after slider so they can actually see the changes firsthand, and it makes quite an impact for sure. All right, so I'm going to select both of these. We're going to drag them on down to Photoshop here. And so one of the things I like is that I can keep some of my other applications open as we're going through this on the Mac Studio. So with the RAM, the CPU, and the GPU, it's not a big deal to have WebODM running in the background or even other applications running as well. So we're not going to run into any bottlenecks or anything here. So as you can see in Photoshop here, I'm going to zoom this in. We have the 6/20/22, that was today, and we also have the 5/6/2022, and that was last month. So right now, I am looking at last month's, and then we also have this month's. What I'm going to do to put these two together and get them aligned nicely is I am going to go over to the right-hand side here. I've got layer 0 right here, and I'm going to drag layer 0 over onto today's flight. So let's wait for that. I'm going to drop it right in here. And it's not perfectly aligned yet, which is okay. So I'm just going to grab my move tool really quickly. And what we're going to do over on the right hand side again to get these put together. So we got layer 1 and layer 0. So let's, whoops, I'm holding the shift key. And now that I've held the shift key, I've got both the layers highlighted. See how they're both selected here. I'm going to zoom that back out, and we're going to go up to edit, and we are going to go down to auto align layers. So we're going to put these two layers together and make everything match up. One of the nice things, since we use Map Pilot Pro, which had a pre-programmed flight path, we know that we're going to get consistent results flying the same exact path. So let's auto align those layers. We're going to say this fully auto. Of course, we could do free transform if we needed to, but I'm going to say okay to this. We're going to see that these layers are now lined up together, and over on the right hand side again, we have not now. And let's go over here back to layer. So layer 1 is on top, layer 0 is on bottom. And looking at layer 1, we can see immediately, because there's no BMX track here, that this must be the May flight. If I turn the visibility off on this, here's our June flight. So we can see a little longer shadow, different time of day on the wheelhouse complex itself. Let's go ahead and turn the May back on. So a little less shadow here, so a bit of a different time of day. But turning these off and on, you will see these have lined up really, really nicely. Now, what I want to do with this is clean this up a little bit. So I'm going to get this prepped for when I build that custom web page for my client. And so what I want to do here is I just want to go in to do a simple crop. Since this is for web presentation, I don't need to do this at 300 DPI. At 72 DPI is going to be perfectly fine. I have turned on the crop tool, and I'm going to leave the width and height open. So what that means is I can crop it as I see fit, so I can get these lined up a little nicer. So I'm just going into this ortho overlay here, and we can bring this down a little more because we're not really focusing on the sports complex, the building itself. We're interested in what's going on with the field and the BMX track as well. And so also their property is in this middle ground here. When we look off to the left or look off to the right, that's different property holders involved. So we really don't need their parts of the Orthomosaic in this. Now that I've gotten my crop to where I want my crop, I'm going to go ahead and hit return on this. And as I said, we've got layer 1, which I'm going to turn the visibility off. And there is layer 0 right there, which is today's flight. So I could move these around now, But what happens next is I'm actually going to export a JPEG. The reason why I'm doing a JPEG here is because the TIFFs are so huge. I want to utilize the JPEGs on the website for the presentation for the client. So I'll be exporting today's flight and I'll be exporting last month's flight as JPEGs, same size, same aspect ratio we have here. We're not going to change anything about that. Once we're done with that and we've got those two JPEGs, they're going to be web ready for the before and after slider that we use. So if you're new to this channel, if you go over to seemybuild.com, that's one of our test sites for doing some demo stuff. And under some of our builds at seemybuild.com, you will actually get to see some of the before and after sliders that we have up as well. And also on this channel, I have reviewed how we make our custom web pages for our clients. So we make custom deliverable web pages for the clients so they can see the stills, they can see the video. If we're doing 360 images, they can see the 360 presentations. If we're doing before and after orthos like this, they can see those as well. The reason why we do these custom web pages is kind of a one-stop shop for our clients, to be honest. We don't want them having to go peel through a bunch of Dropbox folders or have this model sent this way and this model sent this way and this video presented over here. You know, a lot of times when people do deliverables for their clients, when we're doing drone work, they've got a hodgepodge of delivery systems. We like to consolidate all of that into one location so it makes it easy for folks to, reference what's happening on the site. You don't have to be a survey engineer or an architectural engineer person to understand what's going on the deliverable web pages. We make it really easy, even for a person coming in off the street who has never looked at that construction site. They're going to get a really good feel for what's happened on that site between the progression videos we've done and these before and after orthomosaics as well. All right, I'm going to go ahead and close Photoshop. We're not going to export these to JPEGs right now because we're not jumping into that part yet, but I do have that already saved. Quit Photoshop, don't save. And I'm just closing it up. And just to let you know and see, right here, I already have my before and after set up and ready. So when it comes time to creating my deliverable presentation on the custom web page, I'm going to be able to export the JPEGs very simply and very easily. So I'm just moving all of these things back over here. And now we're going to go take a look again. Let's go ahead and open this one up. My client data, the particular client on this project, and then the sports complex, because I also did want to talk about the sports complex stills as well. So not only do we do the orthos and we do the video for progression, we also do make waypoint missions for getting still images as well. And that way we can follow along with those waypoints. Now, when I'm doing these, once again, I utilized Litchi for this flight setup as well. You will notice one additional thing going on here. Not now. We have the DJI number 137 DNG, and then right below that, we have the JPEG. So when I'm shooting these stills to document construction progress, I like to give myself not only the raw images, but also pre-processed JPEGs as well. So in Litchi, I set Litchi to raw and JPEG. And that way, as I go through and take a look at my images, if I find something interesting in the JPEGs that I think might be helpful, I just might go back and edit the raw photos instead. So just giving you a couple samples of these still images. So we can do a slideshow for our clients with the still images as an additional way to also show the progression at this drone construction site. So I feel a little funny calling this a drone construction site, but it is. There is a level of construction going on here for these different sports fields. While the buildings are already built, these additions still require, a lot of construction work. Just laying out this BMX bike track, for instance, took a lot of labor in there. So, and apparently this is one of the larger BMX bike tracks in Arizona. The person who is designing this actually designs these types of tracks on a regular basis. So hopefully they'll see our work as well. And maybe when they do their next track installation, they'll think of AZ Drone for tracking their progress on the location as well. So over the coming weeks and months, as this site progresses further, we will be touching base with you again and showing you through what has actually changed this location. Let's pull this one up here as well. So I also did want to get the front of the sports complex. And so this is a huge location. Like I said, multiple roller hockey rinks in there. They've got a full boxing ring set up, full gym equipment in there, and they have additional plans as well. And in addition to these two sports fields, the BMX track and where the football field is going to be going, they're also going to be doing one further installation here. And I'm going to leave that as a surprise until we go down the road with this particular project a little more. So I did make sure to get a little more elevation out of these to really showcase the locations and to shoot in both directions. The other thing, we were working against the Arizona sun this morning, so we didn't show off everything in both directions. We were there earlier today, so the sun was coming up from the east, but you know, it's northern in the sky right now, so we were trying to make sure that we weren't blowing out our images or our video. There's another straight, almost straight down. You know, we curved the gimbal down further because we did really want to showcase this one as it all comes together. So most likely next month we'll be out to do another flight. We'll be covering these same locations. And so we'll be doing the video, we'll be doing the orthos, and we'll be doing the stills again. So one of my next steps that I'm going to have here is I'm going to actually import all of these images to my Lightroom library as well. That way I can go through and sort my favorites and my not so favorites, remove the rejected photos, flag the photos that are looking really good, and then pass these stills along to our client and also create a slideshow out of these stills for our presentation page as well. Before we wrap this up, so that's our whole process here. So we went out, we did the video flight first. We did the ortho before and after images that come together to put the ortho together. And then we finally did the standard still images as well. So I've already edited the video. You've seen part of that video where we fade from one month to the next. And then we did showcase the BMX track a little more. So we always like to throw a little bit of extra in there. The clients like to see additional changes over time beyond our normal flight paths as well. So my next step in this will be importing the images. I'll be sorting through the still images, and then I'll be building my custom web page for the clients. As I said to you, if you pop on by to seemybuild.com, this is where we do our demo stuff. For our main clients that we're doing our regular paid jobs over at azdrone.net, we do something similar to the See My Build where we're doing the construction progression reporting. But we also have locked pages for our clients so they can share the pages with only who they want to see them. But when we start looking into some of our other locations in here, like let's see, we've got North High Lonesome here. Let's go ahead and click on that one. So we do have our intro page on this. We do our video presentation for them. We also had a still image gallery for them. And finally, what I was talking about before, here's one of our before and after orthomosaics. And we're actually working on this particular project this week too, because they just poured the concrete at this location. So they're going to be getting ready to start having walls go up. We're not going to focus heavy in on this particular one. We are going to stick with the Wheelhouse Sports Complex to show you some progression over time. As I said, so I know we just went really fast here. There's a lot more that goes into this. You know, so we did a complete walkthrough here of my process. But if you'd like to see it step by step, setting up the Litchi waypoints, setting up our flight paths with Map Pilot Pro or Ground Station Pro, if you go over to classes.azdrone.net, we do have a full progression flight utilizing Litchi and Map Pilot Pro, and we do have several other videos on setting up flight paths to be reused over and over again with our eyes to creating progression reports for our construction clients. All right, everybody, I hope this one didn't go too fast. We are putting those chapters in there for you as well. And like I said, head on over to classes.azdrone.net and you can check out free previews of the classes there too, so you can get an idea of what's going to be going into those courses, what you're going to see, and what we're not showing in those courses. All right, everyone, hope you're off to an awesome start to the week. We'll see you again real soon on channel. Be sure to like and subscribe down below to get notified when we're putting up new videos like this to help you grow your drone business as well. See you again real soon.